Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel Future Force. Today we are presenting the full and comprehensive story of how Ukraine targeted the Crimean Bridge, one of the most strategically important and symbolically powerful infrastructures in the entire conflict between Russia and Ukraine. The Crimean Bridge, also known as the Kerch Bridge, has long been considered an emblem of Russian control over the annexed Crimean Peninsula. Spanning 19 kilometers, it connects mainland Russia to Crimea, serving as a dual-purpose lifeline for both civilian and military transport. Since the beginning of the full-scale war, this bridge has been both a supply route and a target, representing not only the logistical backbone for Russian forces but also a powerful political statement. In this full narrative, we will explore every detail, from its structural features and security, to the intelligence and planning behind the attacks, the performance of the operation, its safety implications, the unique factors that made this event stand out, the cost involved, and the overall impact on the ongoing war. The Crimean Bridge was a massive engineering project initiated after Russia annexed Crimea in 2014, officially opened in 2018 with great fanfare. Its structure consists of parallel road and rail sections supported by steel arches and reinforced concrete pylons, designed to resist strong Black Sea currents and harsh winter conditions. It stands not only as the longest bridge in Europe, but also as a constant reminder of Russia's claim over Crimea, which is internationally disputed. Because of this symbolism, Ukraine always considered the bridge a potential target, as damaging it would mean more than just halting supplies. It would mean striking at the heart of Russian authority in the region. On the exterior, the bridge looks formidable, equipped with anti-aircraft defenses, radar surveillance, and security patrols both on land and sea. There are maritime exclusion zones around it, checkpoints at both ends, and a network of monitoring stations. Yet, like every piece of infrastructure in a modern conflict, its vulnerabilities were never completely absent. Inside the planning of Ukraine's operation lies a story of intelligence gathering, patience, and strategic timing. Ukrainian intelligence agencies, including the Security Service of Ukraine (SBU) and the Defense Intelligence Directorate (GUR), have repeatedly studied the bridge since the war intensified in 2022. Satellite reconnaissance, likely supported by Western intelligence sharing, provided high-resolution imagery of traffic patterns, structural weak points, and security routines. Human intelligence from informants in occupied Crimea may have also contributed to pinpointing vulnerabilities. Cyber elements, such as intercepting communications or disrupting surveillance systems, played a role in creating windows of opportunity. One of the key aspects of targeting such a heavily guarded structure is timing, choosing a moment when defenses are less alert, when weather conditions obscure detection, or when the impact would have maximum logistical and psychological effect. Reports from previous strikes suggest that Ukraine experimented with multiple methods, including explosive-laden trucks, sea drones, and aerial drones. Each of these methods required precise planning, coordination across different operational units, and an ability to keep the mission secret until execution. The internal decision-making process would have weighed risks versus rewards, understanding that each strike not only damages a bridge, but sends a global message. From a performance perspective, the attacks on the Crimean Bridge demonstrated Ukraine's ability to project power deep behind enemy lines, disrupting a critical supply route that fed Russian operations in southern Ukraine, particularly in occupied Kherson and Zaporizhzhia regions. The performance was not only about the physical damage inflicted, which included collapsed sections of the road deck and temporarily unusable railway tracks, but also about the ripple effects it created. Russian military convoys had to reroute through longer, less secure paths via land corridors in southern Ukraine. Fuel and ammunition deliveries were delayed, affecting frontline operations. Civilian supply chains experienced shortages and delays as well, creating frustration among the population in occupied Crimea. Each successful or partially successful strike acted as a force multiplier by forcing Russia to divert valuable resources to repair and defend the bridge rather than advancing offensives elsewhere. In terms of safety, the bridge was designed with several modern features to withstand natural disasters, including seismic resistance, strong windproofing, and fire control systems. Emergency lanes, evacuation routes, and reinforced pylons were intended to ensure resilience. However, wartime conditions introduced new types of threats that these safety measures were not primarily designed to handle. Explosions generated from below via sea drones or above via aerial strikes create asymmetric stress points that bypass conventional reinforcement. During the attacks, sections of the bridge caught fire, and safety protocols were activated to close the bridge to civilian traffic, preventing further casualties. Still, these measures could not prevent disruption, and in some cases, civilians were stranded for hours or days waiting for traffic to resume. The question of safety now extends beyond physical design to the ability of defending forces to predict and intercept modern threats like unmanned surface vessels packed with explosives, or remote, controlled trucks disguised as civilian vehicles. The unique aspects of these operations are numerous. Firstly, the Crimean Bridge is not just a piece of infrastructure, it is a symbol of Russian annexation. Striking it is as much an information warfare victory as it is a logistical one. The psychological effect on Russian citizens, especially those who had been told that Crimea was permanently secured, is profound. Secondly, the methods used highlight a transformation in modern warfare, where drones, both in the air and on the sea, play a pivotal role in asymmetric engagements. Traditional bombing raids or missile strikes can be intercepted with high-cost air defense systems, but low-profile sea drones or remote-controlled vehicles can slip through defenses more easily, delivering devastating payloads at a fraction of the cost. Thirdly, the timing of these strikes often coincided with key military or political events, amplifying their impact on global media. Speaking of cost, the financial dimensions of this story are significant on both sides. For Ukraine, developing specialized drones, acquiring explosives, training operators, conducting reconnaissance, and planning such high-stakes missions require millions in resources and the support of an extensive intelligence network. Yet, the return on investment is disproportionate in their favor. Each strike inflicts not only physical repair cost, estimated in the tens or hundreds of millions of dollars for Russia, but also indirect costs in terms of military delays, increased insurance rates for Black Sea shipping, and the political capital spent to reassure the public that Crimea remains secure. For Russia, each repair operation is a logistical challenge, often requiring materials transported over the same contested routes, further straining their supply chains. As the story unfolds, it becomes clear that this is not a one-time event but a prolonged campaign. Each successful hit prompts Russia to enhance its defenses, deploying more air defense systems, installing additional barriers in the waters near the bridge, conducting more frequent patrols, and implementing stricter inspection regimes at checkpoints. Ukraine, in turn, refines its methods, adapting to these countermeasures with newer technologies and tactics. The bridge thus becomes a continuous battleground not just of explosives and concrete, but of wits, intelligence, and endurance. The global reaction to these attacks is equally important to understand. Ukraine portrays them as legitimate military actions aimed at crippling Russian military logistics on occupied territory. Russia calls them terrorist acts targeting civilian infrastructure. The narrative war surrounding the bridge is fierce, with each side leveraging international media to strengthen its version of legitimacy. Western allies of Ukraine see these operations as part of a broader strategy to weaken Russia's occupation, while nations aligned with Moscow view them as provocations that escalate the conflict. On a human level, the people of Crimea find themselves caught between these narratives. For some residents, the attacks are a reminder of the peninsula's contested status and the ongoing war that could one day return to their doorstep. For others, they represent danger and uncertainty, as the bridge is a critical route for civilian goods, medical supplies, and daily commuting. Each closure, each disruption, forces thousands to alter their lives temporarily, adding to the sense of instability. As the war continues, the Crimean Bridge remains both a target and a trophy. It is repaired after each attack, reopened with grand statements, and struck again when vulnerabilities reappear. This cycle reflects the broader nature of this war, a contest of resilience, messaging, and attrition. Ukraine's strikes on the bridge may not single-handedly decide the outcome of the war, but they symbolize the capacity of a smaller, determined nation to hit at the very heart of a larger power's claims. Looking to the future, the targeting of the Crimean Bridge has forced military strategists worldwide to rethink the protection of critical infrastructure in wartime. Traditional methods, patrols, radar, anti-aircraft defenses, are no longer sufficient against a determined, technologically adaptive enemy. Multi-layered defense systems integrating underwater sensors, AI-powered threat detection, and mobile counter-drone units are becoming necessities. For Russia, the lesson is that physical control over a region does not guarantee strategic security if supply lines remain vulnerable. For Ukraine, the lesson is that persistence, innovation, and timing can turn a single bridge into a theater of strategic success. This full story of how Ukraine targeted the Crimean Bridge is not just about a physical structure being hit. It is about a symbol of occupation being challenged, about modern warfare evolving beyond traditional battlefields, and about the high stakes that both nations face as they fight for territory, legitimacy, and survival. It illustrates the merging of technology and tactics, the importance of infrastructure in contemporary war, and the global attention that such symbolic strikes can generate. The bridge may still stand, but each attack leaves more than just cracks in its concrete. It leaves a mark on the psychological map of the conflict, a reminder that no target is beyond reach in this war of endurance.